When we pick this truck up, some of you are going to wonder, why in the world did you drive that far? Turn the heater on. Cold out.
There are stories on the internet that begin with roaring applause, but somewhere along the way, the cheers thin out, replaced by a strange hush, the kind that makes you lean in, sensing that something isn't quite right. The rise of Paul and Michelle from Fab Rats was once a feel-good tale of grease, grit, and late-night laughter echoing through a metal shop. But lately, that story has taken a turn no one saw coming. Fans can't shake the feeling that behind the welds, jokes, and the effortless sparks on camera, something deeper has been unfolding. Something unspoken, and something that the couple never openly addressed. And in this video, we're about to dig into exactly that hidden layer, revealing the unexpected shift and the unknown truth that changed everything. Their story began the way so many American dream stories do. Before YouTube fame, Paul was a construction technician for a telephone company, spending long days out in the field. He built things for the sheer joy of building them. Welding, fabricating, taking old, rusted scrap and turning it into something not just functional, but beautiful. This was his way of breathing. Michelle was the balance, sharp, creative, good with details, and crucially, good with storytelling. She turned shaky footage into something magnetic. Together, they stepped into the world of YouTube with no grand plan other than documenting what they loved. And something about them worked. Maybe it was Paul's rugged charm, or Michelle's calm steadiness behind the camera. Maybe it was the family dynamic, the kids wandering in and out of the shop, easy jokes, and the feeling that we weren't just watching a creator, but stepping into someone's real life. Fab Rats was real. It was the clang of metal and the thrum of engines and the joy of figuring things out. But success, as they learned, doesn't arrive quietly. It brings attention, expectations, sometimes envy and pressure, and sometimes consequences you never imagined when you were just trying to save a boat from sinking in a desert lake. The turning point, the one that changed the tone of how people talked about Fab Rats, was the legal trouble in 2023 involving the quagga mussel regulations. What started as a fun, almost cinematic mission to rescue a boat half buried in a dried lake bed took an unexpected sharp turn. The boat, like many abandoned vessels in Utah's waters, had been colonized by quagga mussels, an invasive species that the state aggressively regulates. It wasn't that Paul and Michelle didn't know about mussels, they did, but they also believed, wrongly or rightly, that the boat had been dry long enough to pose no threat. Still, state authorities disagreed, and in one of those odd, surreal moments that can only happen in the lives of public creators, Fab Rats found themselves not only dealing with the conservation officials, but also talking openly to their audience about facing legal charges. They had filmed their process. They had shown the mussels on camera. All of this, intended as content, now became evidence. The most human part of that moment was the way Paul explained it. Not defensive or arrogant, just worn and tired. The way someone looks when they know they meant well, but still ended up in the wrong place. You could hear it in his voice. The mix of frustration and disbelief, the weight of being painted as reckless when he saw himself as responsible. What happens when good intentions collide with imperfect decisions? Not criminal intentions or malicious choices, just a misalignment between what you think is safe and what the law demands to protect an ecosystem. Even now, fans debate whether the authorities overreacted or whether Fab Rats genuinely made a dangerous mistake. But either way, the damage was deeper than the fine or the legal process. It rattled their foundation. It put stress on their reputation and brought shadows into their once lighthearted world. And shadows have a way of spreading. Around the same time, fans noticed shifts in the people who worked around them. Paul's brother, Ben, a familiar face in early videos, left the shop. Officially, it was to spend more time with family. And that very well may be true, but family departures always sting. Viewers speculated, some said the shop's dynamic had become too tense or too business-focused. Others hinted at disagreements behind the scenes, small cracks that widened as the channel grew. A YouTube shop is more than just a workplace, it's a stage. And when the lights get brighter, even small conflicts become magnified. Then Sean stepped away. Another regular, another part of the shop's heartbeat. He started his own channel, branching into his own creative world. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's admirable. But for the fans who watched the Fab Rats shop evolve over the years, these departures created a sense of unease, a slow sense that the original fabric of the team was unraveling. And as people left, so did assumptions. Was it natural growth, or was something behind the scenes fraying? How does fame change a small, tight-knit team, especially when money, stress, and public attention enter the room? Then there was the rumored tension with Matt's off-road recovery. Not a dramatic feud, not a blowout, but a subtle cooling of a once-friendly collaboration. They had built projects together, appeared in each other's content, shared an audience, and then suddenly, they weren't. Stories floated around Reddit, in long threads across communities like r/Matt's Off-Road Recovery and r/Fab Rats. Users began comparing timelines, analyzing small details in videos, and questioning why certain team members suddenly disappeared. Some posts referenced the 2023 quagga mussel incident, linking back to discussions on regional outdoor forums that documented the case, while others speculated about tensions between Fab Rats and their former collaborators. Nothing was ever conclusively proven, but the way Reddit talked, the tone, theories, and the concern, created an atmosphere where even casual fans started to wonder if something deeper was happening behind the scenes. No scandal or villain, just the soft, painful truth that not all friendships survive professional pressure. And yet, through all of this, the most interesting part of Paul and Michelle's story, it's their resilience. You can see it in the way Paul still approaches a new building with childlike excitement, leaning over the hood, sketching out ideas in the air with calloused hands. You can hear it in Michelle's voice as she films, steadying the narrative even when comments are less kind than they used to be. You can feel the way they talk about the shop, family, and future. Even when things were hard, they kept grinding, kept showing up, and kept filming. And isn't that in some way the truest test of character? Showing up even when your reputation has been dented, when people speculate, and even when the internet decides you're flawed. Because they are flawed, like all of us. Imagine Paul late at night in the shop, long after filming ends, standing over a half-finished weld. Maybe the overhead lights hum softly, the metal is still warm. He's thinking about how to keep the channel strong, the legal mess they endured, and about his brother, or the co-workers who left, or the fans who stuck with them anyway. And maybe Michelle, editing late on her laptop, wonders what the next chapter looks like. Whether they can rebuild trust, and whether authenticity still resonates in a world that's quick to judge, but slow to understand. This is where the most reflective question of all emerges. When your hobby becomes your career, and your career becomes your identity, what parts of yourself get lost in the process? They built their life on metal and motion, on raw skill, imperfection, stubbornness. And despite everything, the legal case, shop changes, friction with former collaborators, and the immense pressure, they're still here, still building, filming, and fighting to stay true to the people they were before success complicated everything. Maybe that's the real story, not tragedy or exposure, but transformation, the painful and unglamorous kind that comes when real people grow in real time under real scrutiny. Fab Rats changed, and change always has a cost. So what happened to Paul and Michelle of Fab Rats? Not one dramatic downfall, but a deeply human series of challenges. A legal crisis that tested their judgment, internal shifts that tested their relationships, and public pressure that tested their resilience. They were revealed as people navigating a dream that suddenly became bigger, heavier, and more complicated than they ever planned for. And maybe that's why their story matters, because authenticity is always rare in a world full of manipulations and masks. Let us know what you think.